Navigating a Christian Life in a Secular World.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? This is your host, Dr. Tony Davis, my good friend, Brother Paul Moody. How are you, Paul?
I'm good, TD. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Well, that's good.
Welcome to Navigating a Christian Lifestyle in a Secular World.
Back there.
Back there. We're so glad that you tuned in to our second part of our broadcast. You know, today we've been talking about mentorship, mentoring youth, mentoring people. And we just wanted to encourage people, let you know that, you know, you could be a mentor just by being an encourager, just by walking in your faith and not by sight. And so many great things and opportunities that God has given each and every one of us. So we want you guys to just tune in and just take a seat back and listen to some great information and words of encouragement as you navigate through your secular world.
Forgive us if we don't talk directly to you, but we get a conversation going, and it's always a good thing.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about?
Well, we the last broadcast we was talking about mentoring by example, and you know we was talking about 1 Corinthians 11:1, followed by example as I follow the example of Christ.
Right.
Meaning, mentorship requires living what we teach. This is a foundational verse where the Apostle Paul tells believers, be imitators of him, as he also imitates Christ, urging them to follow his example because he himself followed Jesus. So we're just trying to tell folks, hey, we are just like Christ-like believers, and we follow us as we follow Jesus. In other words, the things that we do that is right in the eyesight of God, in the eyesight of them, make sure that we're doing the right things.
You know, I saw online a video, and it was a bluegrass band, which I don't listen to a lot of bluegrass, but I do occasionally. Mm-hmm. And they had written a song, and the tagline on the song was, "Jesus, help me be more like you because my son wants to be more like me." Mm. And that pretty well says it all, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You know, I think I hadn't thought about what you just said before, but I think that's real key is people look to us as examples.
Yes.
And we want to be as Christ-like as we can because he's the audience of one that we're living for.
That's right.
And my wife comes up with that. And so,
yeah.
But it's true. And we want to be as much like him so when people look at us, you know, that's who they are seeing reflected.
Yes. And what about the times when some of us, when we may fall and make our errors?
Oh, you're watching me too closely these days.
I may do something, you know, and no, that's why we have to make sure people understand that, you know, that we understand that everyone is human. And like Donnie McClurkin's song, we fall down, but we get up.
You know, when I met my wife, I was on a dating site. Not those kind of dating sites.
Oh, wow.
This was a good one. And I had on my profile a tagline that says, I get up in the morning, I follow Jesus, I fall down, I pick myself up and run after him again. Wow. Which is pretty well the way I still live my life. Oh. And I find that during the day I fall down 3 or 4 or more times and I pick myself up and I apologize to God because we are living for an audience of one. And run after Jesus again.
That's right.
You know, and I think that puts a smile on God's face when I do that. I think it's the right thing to do. But we all fall.
Oh, yes.
But the goal is to try to not stay there and try to be the best example. You've got written on here in 1 Corinthians, and it says, follow my example as I follow the example. That is so important. Follow the example of Christ.
Yes.
So others can see that.
Yes. And, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, we in this Christmas season, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff online and also calls and emails or texts about praying because people are going through so much, you know. You know, there's those that are going home, transitioning to heaven. Hopefully some not going to hell, but in case they are.
Yeah.
But there too. But I've been seeing a lot of things about, you know, people need to follow somebody that's encouraging, and they need, you know, the strength to keep going. And that's when I found that to be in Christ Jesus, especially during these times. Like we all miss those that have mothers or fathers or family members or best friends that are gone home.
You're thinking about Andrew.
Yeah, every time I come to the studio, he's on my mind,
Andrew Bills was the founder of HSBN. He died on October 1st after building something tremendous for Jesus.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way. When I come over here, it's just not quite the same.
Just that miss there. But the good news about that is we know where he's going.
Oh, yeah.
And we are thriving to do the same because he was definitely a mentor for me.
Yes.
And for many others.
For all of us. He held up that bloodstained banner, man. And so to me, that's where it's so important that each of us, be a mentor to somebody, especially in this season of, of that miss or that, what am I going to do and what can I be? And I think that, we got to just encourage, like we said earlier, iron sharpen iron, to keep each other encouraged. When I was first thinking about this subject of that we've never talked about mentoring, my thought was, do you have specific people that that you get together with and mentor them? Mm-hmm. You have expanded this way out in ways that I hadn't considered.
Yes.
And it's, Andrew was a mentor to me like he was to you. I always considered Andrew just my pal. We got along just real well, and I could go into his office and sit and talk about everything going on in life, or talk about my wife behind her back. She was one of the first two broadcasters at HSBN.
Oh, wow.
And Andrew loved her, and she loved Andrew.
Yes.
But really and truly, he mentored me. I'm a better person for having known him.
Wow.
And it's real easy for me to say. That was the last 10 years of my life. Since I first met my wife and she introduced me to HSBN and where she was and people there and Andrew, they brought me in and just wrapped their arms around me, and I grew because of that. And that was a strong form of mentoring. I had never put that word together with that, and yet that's what it is. So, you're giving me stuff to think about, as you always do.
Yeah.
Makes my brain hurt sometimes, but
yeah. Okay, so let's go to Titus chapter 2, 6 and 8. It says, similarly, encourage the young men to be self-controlled, meaning older believers should actively guide young men in discipline and integrity. And I think that is so, so important, especially in this time with our young people. There's so much out there. There's so many negative things. There's so many that takes them to this road of don't go too far or no return, as they say. And so I think that it's just so important that we still stand our ground on, and not, because I've told a lot of young ladies, especially, do not be so friendly with your kid where they take advantage of that friendship.
I always told my kids, I'm not your friend. I'm dad.
Oh, that's good.
But I'm not your friend. The friend is a kid down the street. Don't look at me like I'm your friend.
Wow.
I'm dad, which is even better than being friends, and someday may encompass being friends.
Wow.
But for right now, I'm dad. I always told them that.
Wow. Have they ever tried to cross that line to make you say that, or why did you?
No, I told them that from the get-go. It just struck me that this was important for them to know. You mentor your kids as you go along. That's probably the first place as an adult that you're going to have the opportunity to mentor.
Very true.
And you need to take the responsibility for your kids and bringing them along very, very carefully.
Yes.
So I told my kids that, but the great example, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, is my daughter and I one time when she was about 12 went off on a school activity. We had to go explore something together, and we're driving home at night. And from her side of the car, she said, Dad, you've always told me you're not my friend, you're dad. And I said, yeah, that's true. And she said, but are we friends? And I said, Melissa, we're not just friends, we are great friends. And from her side of the car, all I got was cool.
Wow.
Things like that stick with you forever. But it was because I was dad and I wasn't trying to be her pal.
Yes.
And
That's good.
And even being a mentor, understand if you take someone younger than you under your wing and try and you do this. I'm not good at it, but you do it. But I've always felt that you need to not just be friends, but you need to be someone that they can look up to and they can come to for advice. You're not just a pal that they're going to hang around with.
Exactly.
Although you could still do stuff together.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
but you need to be aware that you are being an example to those younger people.
So true. So true. You know, and like I notice I have some young people that I mentor. I've gone to, let's say they invite me to a birthday party or to whatever party they having, and they be surprised when I show up. You know, especially if at a club. I don't be clubbing you guys, but anyway, no, I show up at the club, and man, it's funny to me, and it just shows me that when you stand for being a good person or do the best you can to be righteous, because they would I would see like their bottles of, you know, the little cups of liquor and it goes up under the table, and it's funny to me, to be honest. And I'm like, you know, I have no problem with that as long as you don't overindulge in whatever you do. You know, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just the thought that they find it enough respect to, you know, even my nephews and stuff, man, they don't, because I try to live in front of them the way I should live, to be a man and not, you know, foolishly.
And obviously, if they're concerned about that, they are aware of who you are, and they're aware of how you're trying to live your life.
Yeah.
And they want to have you look approvingly on them, so they tend to not want to show what they've been doing.
Yeah.
John 3:19, you know, people live in the dark because they like it. They don't want to give up what they're doing.
Ooh, and that dark can be
That's
fun
strongly
sometimes.
paraphrased.
That's good. That's good. And it could be, because think about when we were young, you know, think about, especially you, when you was young. You
No
did
cell
some
phone
things.
cameras.
And it's amazing when you think back of how we've changed over the years. You know, I just had a birthday on the 5th last week.
Congratulations.
And
Happy birthday.
62, man. So
Kids, I'm surrounded by kids.
oh my goodness, little bitty Rich. Rich is like the little of us all.
Yeah, he's just a baby.
Yeah, yeah. He's a big baby. Huh? Yeah.
Tony
yeah.
won, Rich nothing.
Yeah. 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 But so we are excited about the mentoring thing, you know, and I think that it's, you know, as we be the light to so many, they find their light, you know, like what you were just saying about your kids and stuff like that. And you know, people look at you and I'm sure they see your light. They see where you are and how you are with mentoring them. The next one says, Philippians 4:9, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice.
This is one of the letters Paul wrote to the church at Philippi.
Meaning, young men learn as much by observation as instruction. Now, what do you feel about that one? Young men learn.
It kind of pins me up to the wall a little bit.
Wow.
You know, it says, let your actions stay true to your words. You know, don't say one thing and do another. You know, don't say, well, to a young person, you need to follow Jesus and you need to, you know, read the Bible, and then go off and have a beer with your friends and just ignore Jesus and the Bible. Your actions need to match what you're saying.
Oh, yes.
How good are we at that? I'm about 80% and improving all the time.
Yeah, I'm about 85. 90.
Yeah, I have no doubt
90.
you're better than me.
Yeah, about 90. I really, I'm a stickler at trying to make sure, especially to encourage or be a light in front of somebody. I do my best to not go into this angry place, or sometimes I slip. Oh, some things get on my nerve, but I do my best to, you know, be leveled and you know.
I am a lot better than I used to be with that. I've got a friend of mine who we laugh about. He's a strong Christian, always has been. And we talk about the cowboy code. Never miss a good opportunity to keep your mouth shut. Because I've had stuff just slide right out of my mouth from 30 years ago, 40 years ago that does not belong in my life now. And every once in a while, something will slide out. My wife will just look at me and go, really?
Wow.
And I got to stop and think, you're right.
I shouldn't have said.
I apologize. Apologize to her, apologize to the Holy Spirit,
Oh, wow.
and it's don't say yes and do no. That's a big phrase for me,
Oh, wow.
I judge people mostly based upon their actions, not so much based upon their words, but I want their actions and their words to fit together. If they're a well put together person, then they will probably fit together really well. But when somebody says, be like Jesus, and then goes and smokes pot, or drinks too much,
Yeah.
they've got problems.
Yeah, that's where those struggles come in at, that compassion in certain ways, but I just don't, we can't over compassion. You know what I mean? Can't let it go so far, because I've seen where people say, well, look, hey, it's just a little cocktail, or, and they constantly go beyond the cocktails. You know what I mean? So, that's a touchy area.
Jackie has also worked on me, and we've had HSBN gatherings at a restaurant, or, always have it at a Mexican restaurant for some reason. I want a beer.
Right.
I confess I do drink. I almost never go more than one of anything. I don't like being out of control. So I'm comfortable with that.
Me too. Yeah.
But also, don't do stuff that's going to make other people uncomfortable.
Right.
And
yeah.
so a lot of times I don't have a beer at a Mexican restaurant because it might make somebody else really uncomfortable.
Wow.
And I don't want to make that. And Jackie has worked on me on this. And I know she's right. She's not listening. But she's right. Be considerate of other people. You're not, and she tells me, you're not out of control. You're not getting drunk. That's not an issue. It's how they feel about it, not how you feel about it. You need to be sensitive to that. So it's being sensitive to other people.
Wow, yeah, and honestly, I think that's a great thing. Even though I have no problem with that. My thing is when, like I said, when you're over, you can't handle it. Oh my goodness, that bugs me really bad when someone can't handle their drinking or their whatever they do. That part, because I don't do it, but I don't have a problem because back in the day I did what I did. I had little drinks and I wasn't a pot smoker neither. I tried it but didn't like it. My thing was I cannot stand not being in control. I felt like
That's it.
when that thing got me out of control, I can't control what I'm doing or thinking, or I don't like that feeling. So that's why I couldn't get into the drug thing. And
we're on the same page, and that's exactly the way I feel about it. Again, don't. And I'll tell people, I like to have a beer. I like to have a glass of wine. If I have a 6-pack of beer at home and it lasts me 6 months,
oh, wow.
I'm fine with that. I just don't drink that much at home, and I don't drink that much when I'm out and about. But I won't drink at all if it's going to make somebody uncomfortable.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
So,
onwards. Let's talk about building character and courage. Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. Do you hear that? Be strong and courageous. For the Lord your God will be with you. Do you know God is with you?
All the time.
In spite of you or me.
And he sees everything that we do.
He sees everything.
And he loves us still. But he's happier when we're obeying him.
Obey. That's right, man. Meaning mentors help young men walk in courage and faith. That encouraging thing, being like you said, you're an encourager. I'm an encourager as well, and faith. And sometimes I gotta admit, do you ever feel like, man, I don't feel like my faith is weakened, but sometimes it's like, man, come on now, Lord. Because sometimes you get tired of the waiting on God to change things or do things that you expect he would immediately do. So that faith, you still have to walk in that faith. The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
You want him to do something that you're praying for to justify your prayers, and God's going to do it at his own time and in his own way.
That's it.
And it's tough.
Isn't that?
It's tough.
Yes.
I have prayed for things, and nothing's happened for a good long while.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden something happens and a prayer is answered that I prayed 3 years ago.
Yes.
It's never on my time. And it just so happens that God is God and I'm not. And he knows everything and I don't.
Right.
So it's on his time.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's tough sometimes to walk in that faith and believe that it's going to happen the way it's supposed to. But this is one of the things that mentoring can do that's important is you learn about things like this by, linking up with young people who you can help with it, and young people linking up with older people who can help with it.
Yes.
We've talked about mentoring young people, but young people need to find mentors.
That's very true.
I hadn't thought about this until you mentioned a while back, young people who need mentors who can help them and help them grow and keep them on the, straight and narrow. But young people need to also seek out people like that. They need to be aware that they're out there. And sometimes when you're young, you can't see that.
That's right.
And that's, sometimes the best thing you can do for a young person is say, you're going to find somebody out there. Somebody's going to come along in your life who's going to tell you right from wrong and, tell you who Jesus is. And you need to be ready for that and prepared for it.
Yes. And I noticed this like when I did the event in Peoria, however you say that. I did at the schools, right? And I noticed that it's amazing to me that they know about God. They know about Jesus, a lot of them. They know, they pretty much know. But they have this culture of the way they live and the way they think and this cell phone stuff, and that they want to follow certain people, as mentors, like the basketball players or the football or whomever, or especially this trend of these musicians, rappers, singers, whatever. And a lot of times those things are not good, even though they may find, well, they sung the right song that really touched me and made me feel like I feel and I make me want to do. But even in that, they have to be careful of who they follow or what they say or do, because a lot of those people, once you go down a little road with them, you'll find out that they are not
who you thought they were.
Exactly. And over half of the industry of singers, you find out like, whoa, is that the way they really are? That's what they really do. So mentorship, they have to really follow. That's why I think it's important. And I tell those young people, I always do this thing at the end of my speaking where I do this thing. I have them to, say to each other, say to themselves, actually, I can do it. I call it I can do. Mm-hmm. When I said I can do all things.
Sure.
If I believe in myself, if I walk with, again, God, I kind of like dress it up where, this.
You're restricted in what they're allowing you
to say. Yeah, because those guys sitting there with their hands folded, the teachers and such. So anyway, I work my way around it, but I do this thing called I Can Do, and I just talk about how, how they can do it. They believe in themselves, which your belief must be something of righteousness, something that is right to do. You know right from wrong, and you know what's wrong can't be right. So anyway, I just think that those things are important in today's society with our young people, where they have to be careful who they look up to as mentors as well. Like you said, there has to be a certain level of responsibility on them, because you old enough to know right from wrong.
Yeah.
And something that you see or that these mentors that you claim to be mentors do, you know better than that. So that's another thing I think is very important about mentoring,
What I've gotten out of this discussion, and I hadn't thought about this before, is I came into this wanting to talk just about mentoring, and I realized mentoring is hand in hand linked with encouragement, and perhaps I mentor more than I think I do.
Yeah, I think you do too.
Because I encourage people all the time. It's
hand in hand.
That's the gift God gave me, that and being tall and getting stuff off the tall shelf. But that's probably not germane to our discussion.
No.
But it's if you can mentor one-on-one with a young person, that's great. Sometimes you're mentoring one-on-one with an older person.
I was about to say that. Let's not leave our elders out
Yeah.
too.
You know, they need it just as much as everybody
Yes.
else, and they need the encouragement as much as everybody else.
Oh, yes.
In the last show I talked about, I don't remember if it's the last one or this one, but I talked about my wife Jackie bringing an 83-year-old man to Jesus.
I know. That was awesome.
As she says, in the birthing room.
Wow.
And, you know, old people need encouragement like that also, and they need,
Yes.
sometimes when you do get old, you get set in your ways and you get discouraged in life, and the best thing that a younger person like us can do is give them the encouragement to know they're still valuable, God still loves them, you know, Jesus is there for them.
That's right.
And that's always a good thing.
Yeah. And let's talk about Ecclesiastes 1:12. We were winding up. 12:1. It says, remember your creator in the days of your youth. Meaning mentorship helps young people or young men build faith early.
Yes, it does.
So when you're in your days of your youth, that's why I tell young people especially, look, learn who you are and who he is while you're young. Because when you go down this road and you begin to go through these bumps and these turns, there's going to be some time when you're not going to have mom on the phone or dad or brother, whomever, and you're going to need to have that inner peace with God. You're going to need Jesus in your life to make it a little bit easier, to make it, a little bit more acceptable or doable. Because when you get out there, man, and you go into these places and do these things, and all of a sudden these stuff come your way, like, oh my God, what do I do? And you can't reach mom or dad on the phone. Who do you turn to? And a lot of them don't have that. And I think that's a sad thing too, when you find those that don't have that, because they are lost.
Totally lost.
And they turn into the world.
Yeah.
And that's when you find them doing this and that and all kinds of things, and life goes where it goes.
That world back there is not doing anybody any favors if you try and follow it.
That's it, man.
And teaching people who are young, it doesn't have to be strident. You will memorize these 6 verses of the Bible by next Tuesday,
Right.
or else.
Right.
It comes from living your faith. It
That's
comes
right.
from being faithful to Jesus and being happy and proud that you're
Yes.
faithful to Jesus, and not trying to hide it from that world back there.
That's right, man.
It's all of that, and it's just so important.
Yes.
We are running out of time once again.
Yes. That was a great show.
I enjoyed it tremendously. This is a good topic. We may have to
Yes.
revisit this somewhere down the road.
Yes.
Always a pleasure to do this with you.
Always, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you too. And we thank you, and we encourage you, especially during this season, to be encouraged, be a mentor to somebody. Encourage yourself or encourage others always.
Just smile at people as you go along and be kind to people as you go along, because everyone's stressed out. This
Yes.
is a good time to spread God's love everywhere you go.
That's right. Until next time, God bless you and God keep you and keep the faith.
He speaks for me. Thank you much.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.